We should be live. Hello, guys, and welcome to our stream. We got
Hello.
Eric from the Grease Goblins channel here, and it's time to finally talk about this episode. As some of you might know, I've seen the first 4 episodes and just couldn't talk about it. But I can now, and I'm looking forward to it. Eric, how's it going?
I'm doing great. I pre-fired a little bit on the hello, but I'm excited to talk. Episode 1. Been waiting for the moment that happens in the first episode for a while to see how they would do it.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was definitely mixed for me. I
Hmm.
thought it was definitely good, but there was things I was like questioning a little bit. But I don't know how
Same
you
here.
feel.
Oh, definitely. Those are the kind of things that I couldn't do justice within my spoiler-free reviews. So I just said that there are certain things that that I don't agree with, certain tweaks and certain changes. So let's jump right into it, I guess. Let's talk about blood and cheese because I'm guessing that's where it is.
Yeah, I guess we'll just start at the big one.
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like all over the place with blood and cheese because like to
Hmm.
begin with, part of it being it kind of felt like one of those moments where it was like, okay, it was kind of an accident type thing again. And I was like, I wasn't the biggest fan of that already. Um, but another part of it that I thought was weird was Damon himself, like sneaking into King's Landing, kind of felt very weird and like really risky,
Hmm.
especially how recognizable Damon is. I know he has a hood on, but I mean, anytime his silver hair comes out of his hood, like you're sitting here going, "Oh, okay, so is this royalty?" Well, no.
Hmm.
Well, it is, it's Damon, but it's not the Greens, so I feel like it just was very weird the way they handled it. I feel like you could have just done it a million different ways that would have not raised as many like questionable flags for me.
Yes, yes. Um, yeah, the big thing obviously is Damon going after Aemon. But I gotta say, I rewatched the episode yesterday. And Damon is definitely responsible for it. And it doesn't stem from the cutting from the camera cutting away and leaving it ambiguous. Blood actually reveals. He said, "A son for a son," and that's what he doesn't say when he's talking to Blood and Cheese there. So definitely keep that in mind for the next episodes too, because it will really matter. Because
Yeah.
I'm guessing a lot of people will have a problem with that because obviously everything seems to be an accident and everything seems to be toned down. But no, Damon is the one who ordered it. So at least they got that clear. I think my biggest problem is not having Alicent there and kind of robbing themselves of that reaction because they couldn't get that reaction from Helena and the way they present Helena in the show, which is very consistent, right?
Yes.
This didn't surprise me that we didn't get a huge reaction out of Helena. Didn't surprise me as much as Alicent not being there, because if Alicent is there, we get that reaction that we all wanted to see or didn't want to see, but we needed it
Yeah.
for this scene.
So yeah, I was getting there. I think there's something I'll talk about with Christian Cole and Allison as we go forward, but I did feel like one thing that I don't know how I felt about it because in the book it feels more like it's a calculated assassination type. It's kind of the way I read it in Fire and Blood, where it's like, yeah, they know exactly where their targets are going to be, that type of thing.
Hmm.
And so the show kind of went with it was kind of like oh well, we couldn't find Aemon, so let's kind of just wander around until we can find a son for a son type
Hmm.
thing. I just found that to not work as well as the book version.
Hmm.
um and also I do think what you talked about, I also kind of was like, it's kind of weird not to have Alicent in that spot because it seems like a perfect, time to, be a really good reaction. It's already been built up in the episode that Alicent feels very guilty or,
Hmm.
at least has a lot of regret over people that have died in the past. Even one of the most the best part of the episode for me was, well, and we'll get there, but was the whole, Luke's funeral. I think
Mm.
the most powerful moment of this episode for me was Jace and Rhaenyra when they, are first back together.
Oh yeah.
I loved that scene. I thought
Yeah.
Jace's acting, I don't know the actor's name for Jace.
Harry
I apologize.
Collett.
He was fantastic in that scene.
Mm.
But going back to Blood and Cheese, I do think, it was quite a weird change, and I can understand why maybe the thought process there, because they're trying to, maybe it'll help expand Kristen Cole's role, Alicent, because they were having this own relationship stuff that was going on, and that led directly to Blood and Cheese, more or less. If Kristen Cole, maybe he was on guard or whatnot, but yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Kristen Cole Alicent relationship that kind of came out of this episode?
Well, I think after years of enduring a rotting corpse, she can do whatever the hell she wants, right? I don't have a problem with that in general. I just think that it wasn't needed at the end of the episode because we've already seen one scene of them hooking up, and so it's definitely also not for shock value. It's just to add more drama, I guess, more guilt, and that leads me to my other problem, which is Blood and Cheese walking through the throne room.
Yeah.
I'm
like I said, it seems very clumsy the way it all happened.
They had a built-in excuse already, because Cheese was never up there with the royals because the red problem is all on the ground level. So that's kind of a weird little thing, and they've shown Cheese multiple times, so they kind of they wanted to they knew what they were doing, so I get it, but I just think I think it's stupid. I think it's very stupid because that is the most famous room of the entire continent and therefore probably the most protected room. So that's, I don't know. They should have just not done that.
To me, it just took away from like what they could have done, right? Taking these secret passages, making it more, it just, again, it goes back to my point that it felt like it was a very clumsy assassination attempt that could have very easily have gone wrong at multiple points. And me as I'm a big Fire and Blood guy, so it did really strike me as like, I mean, it's just like, was this played for just a funny scene because Aegon, he's drunk on the throne type thing, or I don't know. I just thought
what he says is definitely necessary?
Funny. It is.
What
though.
He says
Aegon is hilarious in this episode. He is hilarious.
I guess it's just there to add guilt to Aegon, but then again, just show him, like, it's a montage anyways, or just show him drinking somewhere else, or just don't have Blood and Cheese going through the throne room. I know what they were going for, and there is an excuse, the ground level and the Reds are there and they don't go up, obviously, the royals and all. But I'm just not satisfied with that excuse, I guess. I think in general, I wouldn't say this is Game of Thrones season 8 level or anything. It's just,
no, definitely not.
It's just that, we didn't get that reaction. And I think if Alicent was there, they would have achieved the same thing because she would have felt guilty for not being able to protect her grandchildren.
Yep. I definitely get that. I mean, Fire and Blood and the version that they went is they're very different just in total, just based upon, Blood and Cheese. It's a scenario where, it's a son for a son. It's not, there's two different sons that Helena has, in the book compared to this version. They were like, well, we're just going for the heir more or less. But, it's just a different way of it because it's even more tragic because in, the book, it's like Helena has to choose one of her sons. She chooses one and then they kill the other one. So it's like that son now, they still get kind of the desired effect because it's like, Helena still, she basically pointed to, the boy or whatever. But I don't know. I just think there's a lot of weird changes to me that just around the Blood and Cheese. And I know we're harping on the Blood and Cheese, but that's because it's
the big one.
It's the biggest moment of the episode.
That's the big one. And that's why it's quite negative at the beginning. But
Yeah.
I loved a lot of this episode, so it's not going to be me bitching about this episode for 2 hours. But I get what you're saying. I'm fine in general with the Maelor erasure, because I think it fits with the show that House of the Dragon is going for. You know, making Helena choose between a girl and a boy. That fits with obviously Rhaenyra and Aegon and all. What I can say about Blood and Cheese is that the tension that builds up towards that moment is insane. Like, I was on the edge of my seat, and just that was very well done, I think.
I think the build up and the foreshadowing is just great.
Mm.
You know, I think all the shots are, and like, I want to point this out because, you know, I think I got this a lot in season 1.
Mm.
I still thought this episode was good. Like,
Yeah, me too.
this is still a good episode.
I just put out my rating, my review. I just uploaded it. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
Which is
that's
good,
around where
by
I
the
would
way.
be.
People got on my case in season 1 because I only gave these episodes a 7 out of 10. Well, a 7 is good.
Like, the way I would look at it is, I don't think it was like, you know, prime Game of Thrones like the first 4 seasons, but I would, like, my comparison would be like one of the good episodes from like season 5.
That's good. That's a good, yeah.
Like, I'm rewatching season 5 right now, and I would say it's like around the best episodes of season 5, if not better.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah. But do you want to move on? Do we want to continue on Blood and Cheese? We want to talk to chat a little bit?
Let's
We haven't
talk to
talked
the
Jack
chat.
in a little
Yeah.
bit.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, Matthew Stewart says he'd give it a 7 out of 10 too. I think that's fair. Because I really do like a lot of the episode. Especially the pacing is really good in my opinion. You know, it's just slower. Kind of has that season 2 feel. A lot of small council moments. A lot of new faces. Hugh Hammer and Alan. I especially like Alan. I think that character or that actor just oozes character development. Like, it's screaming at you, I'm going to be important. I'm gonna make my stamp here.
Yep.
I leave my stamp here. Yeah, it's really good.
Very good. Unfortunately, you know, it wasn't the episode to get more Corliss. He was only in like one scene, but you know, I mean, it wasn't the focus of this episode. Hopefully, we'll
There's
get more
more.
of him.
I mean, I guess I can definitely reveal that there's more, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Because it's like this episode. I mean, I want to talk about, actually, you know, while we're kind of on this, I was interested the way they started the episode in terms of, like, it just wasn't what I expected. It's not to say it's bad. I just think it was an interesting way to start it. I was thinking more like it was going to be like, you know, how season 1 ends. We were just going to continue off of that scene. That's what I thought, because then you would get like the raw reactions of things. So I did find that interesting that they decided to not go that route, and they went with kind of, you know, it's been some time afterwards, and I thought it was an interesting choice, because I think we as a Song of Ice and Fire fans, we want everything, you know, we want all of it. But I did think it was weird, you know, you don't see the reaction of, you know, how Alicent and Otto react to Aemond killing Luke.
That was due to the little time jump, the couple of days they've spared for Rhaenyra, so she can go around. I think because they don't want to have 2 timelines within the same episode again. So so the North was reduced, and we didn't get the party, the Lucerys' dead party, which sucks, because I really wanted to see Aemond being challenged there, you know. Like, he was very conflicted in the final episode of last season, and I really wanted to see how he would react to people cheering him on, or cheering for him for you know, such a gruesome act. Down the line, he's gonna commit way more of those, so you know, would have helped. But yeah, it was great to return to the North in general. I'll admit I was. It was just a heavy nostalgia hitter. That was crazy.
Agreed.
Music coming in, yeah. And I like that they act like Game of Thrones didn't exist by talking about how Alicent and Silverwing couldn't go over the wall.
Yeah,
Which
that was a really
immediately
nice
goes
touch.
just acts like season 7 didn't exist. It's nice.
Exactly.
It's nice.
I also did see a chat
Hmm?
from Lone Wolf and or Larissa. The rat guy kicking the dog, yeah, it was definitely. I was like,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
that hurt more than the death that happened at the end of the episode.
Oh, really? Damn.
Because we actually saw it, man. It was heart wrenching.
Yeah,
Can't
that's
kick a
true.
dog.
That's
You
true.
just can't.
Yeah. Um, Lone Wolf, I'd also agree that the quality of the filmography was is just, they really stepped up their level. Which is gonna be seen more and more when, certain things will happen in the season. It was really well done. Um,
I will say you were 100% right on the dragons. They looked really good.
way better, right? Way better.
Cyrax looked so good in this
Yeah.
episode. So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, way better. They really stepped up their level with the dragons and other stuff as well. Like there's stuff that we've just never seen done in Game of Thrones, never seen it done. And they, yeah, it's gonna be crazy. But let's
Papa
stay on
Khan, love
episode
you.
1 because then I can't actually talk about episode 1.
Yes, yes.
Metal Mass says, honestly, Blood and Cheese felt flat to me. I liked the change when Rhaenyra wanted Aemond and the bumbling between the two, but the execution was poor. The most painful thing of Blood and Cheese in the book was making her choose which son. I wouldn't say it felt completely flat, but it's a bit of wasted potential, I think.
I agree.
Like, Maelor not being there is not my problem. My problem is Alicent not being there. Because we've already seen her hooking up with Cole. That was just, not necessary.
I think they got the desired effect. Like it was still like they built up the tension. The music was great. It's been foreshadowed the entire episode. And I think for especially a casual audience that doesn't know what the alternative is, it'll work even better. But I think, as a book reader, it was like it kind of left you wanting more, or it left you not feeling like we could have gotten to a bigger moment, I guess
Yeah, it
is
was
how I
like,
would look at it.
oh, like when she left and went down the stairs, I was like, oh. There was a little bit of like, oh, that was it.
Yep.
So yeah, but let's continue with the chat because there's a lot of people coming. Hey, Jesus V, how's it going? Says they dropped the ball major with Blood and Cheese. Again, I wouldn't say they completely ruined it. But yeah, again, wasted potential.
Oh, this is definitely a good scene that Maz points out. When Rhaenyra returns, the score is like really good, and
Oh yeah,
the Sully zooming in her before I want Aemon to go in. I love that the only words like that she says, she doesn't say anything. She just says that and then just leaves. It was just
yeah.
like that gave me chills. It was like this is what I wanted from Rhaenyra in the first season. I wanted a little bit of like, development of the character and like how she deals with turmoil, and you see that in this scene. I think Emma did a fantastic job in this episode. I also think
Oh yeah.
Aegon is. Whenever we get to talking about him, he was fantastic in this episode.
Geoff Baratheon says, also, does Cole not realize he could be gelded for getting with Alicent? I suspect Larys already knows. Well, that is something that they're actively playing with, right? Because she is attaching the white cloak, and they're hypocrites. And even Aemon points it out in this episode. He says the queen has two tongues, and I like that they've included that line because I think that's it's a little bit of a wink at season 1 and her agency in general. How in episode 6 she was all for Aegon, and now all she talks about is peace. And it's a problem when the actions go against the story, or the story goes against the actions. But I think when you portray a character like a hypocrite, that's cool, because that's human. So I'm interested to see if it continues like that, because I think that is what we were talking about, right? Where's the agency? I want more agency. Now someone at least brought it to the table, and
You keep going.
No, I was finished there.
Oh, all right. Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say I had heard the kind of the rumors a little bit, and I was a little bit like, I don't know how I feel about it, but I will say I do agree with like it's a very human thing to, say you stand to all this, but then later maybe you change your mind or something like that. That's just very human. It gives off like kind of Catelyn vibes. She is someone that would make bad choices at certain points, and she's a very human character. She's probably one of the most human characters in Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that was good. One thing I would have liked for the Kristen Cole and Allison stuff is I wish we got a little bit more build up to it in terms of like it being romantic. Because in season 1, like I never really got that vibe. And I know like in season 1 there's a deleted scene with young Allison talking about like Kristen Cole and that, but it just kind of felt like almost out of nowhere to me. But
there's a moment where she's crying and he's kind of being there for her, I guess. But yeah, there was also apparently a deleted scene of them fucking. I don't know if this was season 1 or if this is season 2, but there was more.
I'm
I
not
think
sure.
it's the usual. It's the usual. Like with so much of the other stuff in season 1 that was cut, didn't make the cut.
Ricky, I'd love to hear your opinion on Joffrey Baratheon's comment. Daemon has been whitewashed, and it's pretty much Alicent and Cole's fault for the boy's death because Cole wasn't at his post. At least that's how they wrote it.
Not at all, I think. Because Daemon is the one behind it. He is the one who told them to go after a son for a son if Aemond is not there. So I don't know how you can blame other people for such a cruel act. Like that is 100% Daemon's fault there. And
I
I
agree.
don't think it takes away at the end. Like what they are trying to do is they're playing with that. Like that is something that we'll read a lot in the following days, I think, that they're guilty and or whatever. And that is something that the characters will feel a lot of guilt, but I don't think that they're to blame. They were just fucking like any other night. Like who could have guessed that this happens?
I agree. I mean, it's Daemon's the one that executes the plan to do this. Yes, maybe they could have prevented it if Kristen Cole wasn't with Alicent. Maybe they'll feel some guilt over that. But at the end of the day, they're not the ones that killed the child or sent someone to kill the child. Like I don't know. I thought Daemon was actually. I didn't have a lot of complaints with Daemon outside of like him going to King's Landing in this episode. I actually thought like he had a lot of human emotion to the things that are happening, right? His brother dies that he has a lot of ties to, and Rhaenyra is kind of mourning and she's not there, and Daemon wants to get action, he wants to get vengeance, he wants to get revenge and all these things, and he can't do that, so he feels very boxed in, so he starts blaming people, Mysaria and Rhaenys and
Eric.
Rhaenys, but what's up?
And Eric as well. So no,
Oh,
not you.
that's what you're talking. I thought you were talking to me.
Eric
I was like,
Eric
what did I do?
He talks to Eric as well, yeah. And
yeah. There you
what
go.
did you think about Mysaria in this episode?
I thought she was pretty good. I actually liked the performance. The accent I thought was better. The episode.
That's a big one. Yeah, she's way better now, I think.
Agreed. I mean, I thought like pretty much everything at Dragonstone I think was really good. So, I mean, I don't really got any complaints. I thought, Damon's performance was pretty good. I thought, the stuff we did get with Rhaenys was pretty good. Like I talked about, my favorite scene was Jace and Rhaenyra. I thought they did a great job of, intermingling, Luke's funeral with Alicent lighting the candles. I thought that was a great moment.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like that as well. There's a question. No, it's gone. Where was it? By Arya. What do you guys think of Maelor being omitted from the show? We've already talked about it, but I don't know if he's even omitted from the show. What if, and this is only my headcanon, I didn't see anything. But what if he is at Old Town with Daron? Like, let's say the Hightowers have a thing of their third-born offspring being sent to Old Town to study. Because they have cast Rickard Thorne. Like, he is in House of the Dragon. We had that, there was news about that months ago. So there is Rickard Thorne. Why have him so early if not for something like getting Maelor? I don't know. But then again, it's a toddler. What is a toddler gonna study?
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, personally, I would have liked the Maylor stuff, how it happens in the book, but I get, why they didn't and the direction they were going with it. And I think, on just a base level, it was acceptable. Like, I think it did the job. I think both of me and your opinions is I think it could have been handled better.
Wasted potential, yeah. That's
Yeah.
the big one. It could have been way better. I don't think it's horrendous, and there's gonna be such an outcry online. I'm already seeing it, but I really don't think it's that bad. It's not brilliant, but it's not that bad.
I mean, Ricky, I think this is why it's why people are, being very vocal about it. It's because this moment has been hyped up since the beginning of this show starting. And so when you have a moment that so many people are looking to see and it's not, perfect. It's not
Oh yeah.
It's not the Red Wedding, of Game of Thrones. It's not, that when it definitely could have been, but it wasn't. I think that's why. I think because it's the whole Winds of Winter talk that we had to always talk about is, can Winds of Winter live up to the hype after so many years?
Yeah.
I think that's why so much outcry has come from it.
I mean, I get it. I'm not trying to diminish people's feelings, but I'm just guessing that this will be. Yeah, there it is. Leo Sunflower. No, it's bad. It sucked hard, like season 8 of Game of Thrones. Yeah, just don't think that's the case. But those I'm expecting to read that a lot in the following weeks. When in reality, we have a show that is way more serious than the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones, with way better dialogue, and even though they change things, we have lore bits like someone talking about Allison and Silverwing and stuff like that, little nuggets. Still think House of the Dragon feels much more like Book Westeros than Game of Thrones did since season 4, and but yeah, this whole conversation will die down once you guys see Harrenhal. I can only say, I can only repeat myself there. Harrenhal is gonna be insane.
It's just I think it's just, again, the same level of what like season 1 was, right? Season 1, it was like you'd have 95% of the episode. That would be great. And then it was like always that landing point where it was like, people would, have their issues. And I just think I think it's on the same level as like season 1, right? It's good for the moment. And then you have some questionable, a very kind of a questionable ending in terms of the execution.
Are we
the Advocate?
just...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Alright, we just talked about that. Yeah, I'm very happy that they mentioned it, because they mentioned Allison going to the wall, because yeah, it acts like Game of Thrones season 7 doesn't exist, and I like that.
The Advocate says, did you guys already talk about the strange addition of Allison and Kristen getting it on? We already did, yes, but I think I think it adds to what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to, I think, give more guilt to Allison, give more guilt to Kristen Cole, and have Kristen Cole be more, I think, involved in the actual plot. Because that's one thing that Fire and Blood, until some stuff happens, which I won't spoil because we're not really talking about spoilers too much, but it's to give him kind of something to do. I feel like him and Allison, because both of them kind of take more of a backseat until a certain part of the war happens. But yeah, I do think for me it was a little underdeveloped, but I get why they went with it.
Yeah, I don't mind it much either, because, as I've said, I think she's been... I think this is about Allison more than it is about Cole. It's about her coming into her own, and that's portrayed sexually as well. Because she was, she was hooking up or having to endure a rotting man for decades. So I'm just like, do whatever the hell you want. I'm not gonna argue at all. because I think it is about damn time that she comes into her own and does things for herself and wants things for herself. And I've seen this toned down thing for too long now, and if that is something that plays into her becoming a more ruthless version of herself, then have it that way.
Agreed. I'm seeing a lot of stuff about Aegon. Do you want to talk about Aegon here?
Yeah, sure.
For me, not seeing the episodes like in advance, just kind of taking your word on it. Aegon was great in this episode. I think definitely a standout performance of the episode. I love that they gave him more of like an actual character. They gave him, sides of it where like, he does care about the people. I thought that was, a really interesting side to bring here because, as events start to play out in the war, maybe that's going to be tested, right? His morals, ethics, things like that. I thought it was great to see him, being likable a little bit. It's not something we really saw in the first season. So I thought that was
not a
great.
lot of it anyway, because he was horrendous from the get go. Now we see him caring about the regular people's stuff, which was I really enjoyed that scene in general. With Otto there, and then Laris obviously whispering in his ear. That was great. That was really good. And
Agreed.